Thank you all for coming here. This is a great turnout. Thank you so much. We'd like to welcome everybody here. Thank you for coming on this Friday night. And Lily, first of all, I'd like to thank you so much. You're an inspiration to all of us. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here. Your work is excellent, and we're so happy to have you here. So thank you so much. Yeah, please. I'd also, I'd like to welcome some special guests here. We have the Jordanian ambassador, Dina Kawar. Thank you so much as well. Thank you. And also, our ambassador, Hussam Zumla. Thank you so much also for coming. We're very happy to have everybody here, and we hope you enjoy the exhibit today. We have Dagmar, who will talk more about the exhibit after, before Lily talks more. And we have just a few words from the ambassador, the Palestinian ambassador, Hussam Zumla. Please.
Thank you, Muhammad. As usual, you just put me on the spot without any preparation. But Lily, this is such an honor and a privilege for me personally to be here. And it is only a few hours after International Women's Day. And may I borrow a few hours later and really say that you represent every Palestinian woman. Yesterday we released a dedication to Palestinian women in that day for Huda Abu Ghali, the girl who lost her family on the beach of Gaza. And then 10 years later she made it to be a law graduate. And we brought her in his full gear as somebody who has been able to overcome the grief and really replace it with determination and with all that you have done throughout your life. This is the force of the Palestinian. First Palestinian woman, you know. I think our people have been able to withstand the pressure for all these years because of people like you and because of Huda and because of this wonderful art. Thank you for all that you have done. Shukran. Enjoy the beautiful, beautiful images by Lily. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ambassador. And once again, thank you for coming, Mrs. Zumla and Ambassador Kawar. Very, very kind of you to especially bring a number of Jordanian students who we want to acknowledge as well. We're very pleased to have them. And thank you to all our guests. I would like to speak for a few moments. My name is Dagmar Painter, and I'm the curator of the art gallery here, Gallery Al-Quds at the Jerusalem Fund. And then afterwards, Lily's been speaking for the last 2 hours because she's been interviewed by the BBC and by a lot of other people. And so but we're going to have her speak a little bit, but mainly we're going to ask her a few questions. But let me talk to you a little bit first about Lily and her work. On your seats, you have some biographical information about Lily, which you can take home, and I'm not going to go over all of it, but I do want, I want to make a few small points. She, as a photographer, was absolutely in the picture wherever anybody important in the Middle East happened to be. She worked with major public figures. She was a personal photographer for Mrs. Sadat, the King and Queen of Jordan. She photographed Yasser Arafat. She photographed the First Lady of Lebanon, Mrs. Nazak Hariri, and Bahia Hariri, Princess Haya of Dubai, many, many, many others. And there's some portraits out in the gallery that you can see as well. She was invited by the government of Egypt to document the monuments. We have a few wonderful images of those monuments out in the gallery as well. She showed her work in New York City at the World Trade Center, at the Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C., at the Paralympic Games in Atlanta, everywhere. She really was an amazing, amazing talent and an exceptional photographer. She was the first photographer to have her work accepted into the permanent collection of the White House during the Carter administration. Her career was in full swing. She opened a a photojournalism department at Yarmouk University in Jordan. She began to teach photography, and then in 1984, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. For several years, she searched for a cure, fought the disease, but photography was her passion, and photography was the thing that kept her going to the point where she was introduced to vocational rehabilitation, a federal program that assists the disabled in returning to work assisted by modern technology. Lily designed a camera mount that was attached to her wheelchair, and she went back to photography. If that isn't the most inspiring thing. She traveled around with the wheelchair. In 1995, Her Majesty Queen Noor and late King Hussein of Jordan were among the first Arab leaders to invite her to photograph from her wheelchair. And there's some really interesting images later on when you have a chance to walk around in the front of pictures of Lily doing photography, in set design photography in using the wheelchair. But the really important thing that we want to talk about tonight, and the reason we're all here, is because not only is she a brilliant photographer, but she is also an amazing humanitarian. She has started a foundation called the Assistive Technology Make Independence Accessible Foundation. It encourages people with disabilities to enter the workforce and integrate them in society. It's a nonprofit organization. And it wants to educate and foster the independence and self-determination of people in the Middle East with disabilities. Every person, regardless of difference, has the potential of being a valued and contributing member of their community. The foundation does this by developing programs and services which will support the needs and goals of children and adults with disabilities and their families. It strives to improve the quality of life of people with disabilities at school, work, and home, with a special interest in developing programs in the Arab world and in other countries where there's a great need to create and build support. It is the mission of the foundation to expand awareness, education, training, rehabilitation by developing public and private funding for people with disabilities. Lily is going to be donating the proceeds of any sales from the photographs that we have in the gallery to support the ATMIA Foundation. She hopes that ministries of education in the Arab world will start addressing and giving scholarships to people with disabilities in their own countries to study assisted technology in the same way as scholarships for people without disabilities who study. Stephen Hawking, one of the world's most well-known space scientists, is a model for the power of assistive technology, and Lily always refers to him. We need to give people in the Arab world a chance to build their future. Now, before I turn it over to Lily, I want to talk to you about the actual photographs that we have here. These photographs are all available for sale. They are available as framed photographs as you see them, and also as prints. And there are small size prints as well. So, and there's going to be a book on the round table where people can see the smaller size prints. So if anyone is interested in purchasing any of the photographs, please find me or find Lily's sister, who is standing there in the beautiful gown with the notebook about the photographs. The images are purchased from framed or unframed, and the prices range from the most expensive one, which is the giant, $5,000, down to $250 and less for the smaller images. And we also have payment plans available. One other thing, if you're unable to purchase a photograph, don't have room in your apartment, many, many reasons, we also would be very, very grateful if anyone would like to make just a plain donation to the ATMIA Foundation. And if anyone would like to do that, we will assist in helping you do that. So, business out of the way, let's talk a little bit about art. So, Lily, I'm going to ask you some questions, and then I'm hoping that the audience, I'm sure, will have a few questions as well. A lot of your photographs that we adore looking at are very lyrical, especially the ones that we're looking at behind you, the beautiful Palestinian women with the grape leaves and grapes. And I've noticed that, for example, the beautiful one of Petra, you stylize these photographs. You create a world in the photograph. You're not just photographing something that already exists. You create the existence of that. Can you tell us a little bit about how you decided to do that? Why that's your style?
Well, first I started studying art. I studied in Paris, and I love artistic. I like painting, so I always imagine my pictures just like a painting. So those pictures in the back, Yasser Arafat owned the tobe, the dress, and he wanted me to photograph and he had some fighters, women fighters. He told me they can model for me. So I took the girls. We were looking for a good background. So I found some beautiful place with grapes. It's a grape field, and we photographed them for Arafat. And
that's a wonderful background story for that piece. Tell us a little bit, if you could, about the work you did with the photographs of Egypt. We have quite a few of them here, and I understand you did a book.
Yeah, I did the book on Egypt. I was just a student when I went to Egypt. I wanted to do my portfolio, the last, for my senior year in college. So I decided to go to different Arab embassies to find out if one of them would support me to go to the Middle East and photograph, because we have so much history in the Middle East. Every country has history, and I know Egypt was the most. So I went to the embassy of Egypt, and there was one of the ministers. He was very impressed with my work. So he asked me if I want to go to Egypt. And he supported me. He paid for everything, the travel and the hotels over there. And I was a student. And they managed to make plans for me to go photograph the pyramids, the Valley of the Kings. And when I came back to the United States, they wanted to do an exhibit of the pictures. So they did an exhibit, and they invited the White House photography, the head of the White House photography. So when he came to see, when he saw my work, he told, at that time, was Carter. He told Mrs. Carter that they should have my work in the permanent collection. So Mrs. Carter invited me and took one of my pictures to put in the permanent collection of the White House. And after that, whenever any Arab leader comes to visit the White House, because I spoke Arabic, they would ask me to photograph them at the White House. And that's how I met King Hussein and all the heads of states.
every photograph has an amazing backstory with it, doesn't it? I'd like to ask you about the moment in which you started photographing again, after you had originated the camera mount on your wheelchair and were able to start working again. You said that you did go to photograph King Hussein and Queen Noor. What else did you do at the very beginning when you restarted photographing?
Well, first thing I wanted to do, I was just, I haven't worked for years. I needed financial support. So I went, the ambassador of Saudi Arabia, his wife, she supported a trip for me to the Middle East. She paid for the trip. And so I went to Jordan. That's when the king and the queen, they invited me before. And I went to Lebanon. I went to Bahrain. The princess, the wife of the ambassador, she paid for everything. So, I went to all these countries and photographed. And when I came back, I had an exhibit at the capital, the state capital. And, ever since I've done that, they couldn't believe that I'm in a wheelchair, I could photograph. When I went to Lebanon, the wife of the head of Lebanon, she didn't believe that a person in a wheelchair could photograph. So after I photographed her and her family, and I came back here and I sent her the prints. She invited me back and she did an exhibit for me. Other countries started inviting me. The Queen Noor was the very first one. And what I would like the Arab countries to start addressing is the education for people with disability. Like there are students here, and there's thousands of students all over the world that the Ministry of Education gives them scholarships to go and study. They address every field, computer science, business, politics, everything. But not one university or any country addresses education for people with disability. And I think we have to start.
So that is also the reason that you have started your foundation.
Yes. There are many people with disabilities, 15 million people with disabilities in the Middle East. First of all, they segregate them. If they go to school, they have special schools for them. They don't put them in the same schools with the others. It's just, I've been in the Middle East back in the 90s. In the 90s, it was terrible. Everybody, when I went in the streets in my wheelchair, people would look at me very strange, because people with disabilities, they just stay home. They don't get the education. And this is 2018. They still don't have in the Middle East studies for disabilities in the universities. I cannot believe that. I'm trying to start disability studies. You know, like I can't use my hands, I can't use my legs, but at home I'm able to turn on the TV. I can't use the remote control, but through the movement of my head, I can do that. I can turn on the lights. I can look what Stephen Hawkins, where he has reached. Without assistive technology, he couldn't have done that. So I am trying to start a program. I did start it already at the University of California. We brought one girl who's disabled from Saudi Arabia to study assistive technology. And she did. She got her master's. And she went back to Saudi Arabia last year, but still they haven't done anything. You know, so I would like to start with any Arab country, a program to give scholarships to address people with disabilities education. Like in Palestine, you know, in Palestine and in Gaza, there's a lot of people that were hurt during the, during the events with Israel. The president of the Palestine Red Crescent came to me, and I have a letter, I have several letters, begging me to help them to start an assistive technology section in their hospital. They want me to get somebody to support them to start a department at the hospital, so when the people come who are disabled, they come to get medical support, and they have been hurt and they can't use their legs, they can't use their hands. So this is just something to support them to continue their life. You know, this, like for instance, if a father lost his legs and hands, how is he going to support his family? You know, so if assistive technology can help him go back to work, you know, so why don't we start addressing assistive technology education?
Thank you so much. So I'm going to leave it up to the rest of you. If you have questions, I'm going to pass the microphone over so that we can hear you. And we'll take a few questions, and then after that, we'll just be informal. And if you want to come up and talk to Lily, or also if you want to talk to Lily's sister, who has a lot of information as also about the foundation, please feel free to do that. And also, please feel free to go back in the gallery and when it's not quite so crowded, and have a wonderful look at some of the beautiful photographs that are available. But let me take a couple of questions first here.
Before the questions, please, another round of applause for Lily, please.
I have a question. Thank you very much for your inspiring talk. My question is, you and Stephen Hawkins are people of great intelligence and were able to carve out a career for yourselves. So my question is, how can ordinary people with lesser intelligence, make a life if they're disabled?
I don't think you have to be intelligent. Assistive technology can help any person with disability. Let's say if they cannot move, their hands, there is a way to do it through just the movement of your head or the movement of your eyes. You can use you can't use your hands to use a computer. I can't use my hands to use a mouse. So there are such things as assistive technology mouse. You can do it through with your head movement. So you can reach anything.
Lily and I have had a long email correspondence going on, as a matter of fact. One more question over here.
I would like to say that you're truly an inspiration to all of us being here. We are very proud and grateful to be here. My question is you photographed a lot of political and social key figures and members of royal families. As a photographer, what was your approach, or if you have advice for young filmmakers who might be working with key members in their societies, what is their approach? What would be the approach when taking photographs of such people? I mean, I'm nervous. I'm nervous talking about it just because I feel like it's such a big responsibility. So.
You must have been very persistent.
Well, yeah, but I studied art first before I studied photography. So I always imagined I want to photograph, want to do something with the portrait and like a painting. So that's how I set it up, with the lighting and with the background, so that's how, you have to have a little bit of imagination.
Thank you very much for being here with us today. Please come and talk to Lily. And if anyone is interested in either doing a donation or interested in actually taking home one of the beautiful photographs, we can organize that for you later. Thank you very much.